the news hour, coming to you live from the studios of HitzAfrik Radio and TV. Stay tuned. Download the tuning app onto your mobile phone today and catch up on all the latest news from HitzAfrik Radio. Broadcasting live on modern Ghana and our website www.hitsafrikradio.org. HitzAfrik Radio News Hour live.
It's a good evening in the studios of HitzAfrik Radio at exactly 19 hours GMT in the studios transmitting live here in Ghana. Then log down to www.modernghana.com on the tuning app at HitzAfrik Radio. We are live with the news hour with Abena Aruni. Stay tuned as I bring you the news headline. Man allegedly murders girlfriend attempts suicide. Dreadlocks Bruhaha Rastafari Council must engage stakeholders. Anemia in pregnant women higher in Bone Katamanso. Dozens of Nigerian power pressure demanding release of kidnapped students. We don't want war with Sudan. Stay tuned as we do the news in details. Man allegedly murders girlfriend, attempts suicide. Residents of Ho in the Volta region are in shock after Nigerian News Eyewitness Tojie reported that the incident had happened at about 10 o'clock p.m. on Monday night, which was only discovered at midnight. An eyewitness told Joy News that they heard the suspect calling for his mother to come to his aid because something bad had happened to him where he was. Then he heard a loud noise at the scream of a boy, Tojie, saying, "I am in trouble, oh." So we all rushed over to see what he had done and that he had killed his girlfriend. Upon entering his room, they saw a pool of blood on the floor, as well as blood splattered on the walls. In addition, they realized that the ceiling fan from which he tried to hang himself had been ripped off the ceiling. According to the eyewitness, the suspect's intestines were gushing out of his stomach after he had stabbed himself repeatedly in an attempt to take his life. According to eyewitnesses, the suspect's intestines were gushing out of his stomach after he had stabbed himself repeatedly in an attempt to take his life. According to the deceased mother, they received a call asking of her whereabouts. I responded that I was out of town, and by the time I got home, I saw my daughter in a pool of blood. I couldn't do anything but cry while the police consoled me and took the body away, she told Joy News. She disclosed that the suspect is her daughter's boyfriend, adding that they had been dating since they were in junior high school. This unfortunate incident comes less than 2 weeks after a level 300 student of the Evangelical Presbyterian University College died after she was allegedly assaulted by her boyfriend. The boyfriend, Kuma Philip Caesar, 31, according to sources, had constantly assaulted the deceased prior to her death. In other stories, Dreadlocks Bruhaha Rastafari Council must engage stakeholders to keep their hair. The Vice President of the Old Students Association of Achimota School, Joel Nete, has called on the Rastafarian Council of Ghana to engage relevant stakeholders in the education sector on how their beliefs can be incorporated into the educational system. His comment comes after the authorities of Achimota School denying admission to the two students who were posted there under the Computer School Placement System CSSPS because the rules of the school did not allow students with drug laws to be admitted. This subsequently generated a massive debate on social media, with many claiming that the students had been denied their rights. But speaking to Benjamin Akato on Joy News' AM show Tuesday, Mr. Nerte noted that it stands out. Most second cycle schools require that their students have a down-cut hair before they report to the school premises. As such, advocacy by the Rastafarian Council and a holistic debate on the issue will help Rastafarian students to grow their hair when they gain admission to schools in the country. My issue is the way it had been handled. If it is that the Rastafarian Council, for instance, starts advocacy, trying to explain to the world what it is their issue are and why that is protest, we have a more holistic conversation about it, dreadlocks in schools. They can engage GES, Ghana Education Service, and various teacher unions that you need to modify this. And the matter will be discussed. But when you wait and choose a school that has rules, and on the day you are being admitted, suddenly say, I want to go to school, but I am not ready to follow its rules. This is what you get, he told host Benjamin Akato. So, if the council wants to make any advocacy to GES, to schools in Ghana and the Ghanaian populace, it is a good thing to do. It will help us weigh the pros and cons, see the merits and demerits, and let's make the appropriate adjustments. Moreover, the association's vice president dispelled allegations that authorities denied the first 2-year students admission to the school. According to him, the students were asked to study were only conformed to rules and regulations, that is, to keep a short hair before they were allowed to the premises of the school. What we need to be careful about is saying that Achimota School is not accepting Rastafarians because it is not the issue. Achimota School has an issue with how students, male and female, keep their hair, he stated. Meanwhile, the Rastafarian Council is seeking other alternatives to get admission to another institution for the students. In other stories, anemia in pregnant women higher in Bone Katamanso. There has been a sharp surge in anemia cases among pregnant women in the Bone Katamanso municipality, Ms. Kafui Odum, municipal nutrition officer, has stated. Ms. Odum told the news agency in an interview at Bone near Tema that the rate at which pregnant women were diagnosed of anemia was alarming in the municipality. She stated that 56% of pregnant women within the municipality were diagnosed of being anemic, with the municipality added that the situation called for urgent attention. The municipal nutrition officer explained that most pregnant women do not eat iron-based food, including plant and animal-based protein, hence the reason for the surge in the cases. Ms. Odum said poverty could also be another factor due to the inability of some pregnant women to buy healthy food to consume, adding that the body undergoes numerous changes during pregnancy and they, therefore, needed to eat healthy and well-balanced foods. My advice to the pregnant women is to eat healthy foods that are rich in iron, she noted. According to the nutrition officer, pregnant women should not hesitate to report to the nearest health facility for antenatal, saying anemic conditions could be fatal. The Municipal Health Directorate should soon roll out the micronutrient product campaign across the municipality for children to 6 to 24 months old. The campaign is aimed at encouraging pregnant women to supplement foods they consume and give their children at tender ages nutritious foods. In other stories, Parliament probe Joy News expose on gold smuggling as Minerals Commission appears before them. Parliament Mines and Energy Committee is set to investigate how undocumented gold is illegally smuggled through the country's borders. It follows a Joy News expose uncovering how security operatives and politically connected individuals have been aiding a gold smuggling syndicate illegally exporting gold through the country's air and sea ports. In 2018, President Akufo-Addo revealed how $5 billion was unaccounted for in gold exports from Ghana to the United Arab Emirates. In the latest Hotline documentary, Bastard Gold Smugglers, the Joy News investigative team revealed how gold is tagged under traditional woven slippers and smuggled out of the country. Ranking member of the Mines and Energy Committee, John Jinapor, says the revelations captured in the investigative report will feature strongly when they meet the Lands and Natural Resources Minister and Minerals Commission on Tuesday. This will be a major issue at committee. We will delve into it, he told Joy News. He further highlighted the need to reassess the percentage of withholding tax placed on legal gold exports, which he believes could be a contributory factor perpetuating the illegality. I am told that it is a 3% withholding on gold exports in Ghana, and that's a contributory factor, deterring people from going through the approved routes. I think that all these issues ought to be looked into so that we can tighten security, he added. Moving on to other African countries, in Nigeria. Dozens of Nigerians power pressure demanding release of kidnapped students. The empty Federal College of Forestry Mechanization School following an attack by gunmen in Afaka, Nigeria on Friday, March 12, 2021. Dozens of people, including parents of kidnapped students in Nigeria, protest on Monday, demanding the release of the wards. The protesters blocked a highway outside the Federal College of Forestry Mechanization in the northwest city of Kaduna, disrupting traffic. Before their demands, one parent led a prayer session at the scene of the protest. Because tomorrow they will be old and these children will be the ones to take over, Father, we beg on you, we have cried enough. We have called on you that these our children are released. These our students are released. Whoever is in authority that is not doing what he's supposed to do, Father, this night, that person will not have a good sleep. Godwin Abraham, father of a kidnapped student, prayed. The protesters carried placards with inscriptions like, "Bring back our children," and "It is a crime to seek education." They pushed a tractor belonging to the college along the highway to symbolize closure of academic activities at school. Wailing mothers holding posters of their children sat at the headway and pleaded for their rescue. Looking at this, you should know that it is the poor people that are here, poor people's children that are here. If any big man's children should be here, should go to school, it's either they go to private university or they go abroad, Sani Friday, a father of two kidnapped students, said. Gunmen are still holding 39 college students who were seized from hotels in a raid on March 11th. The military rescued 180 other students and staff. Come by Sam, head of an association of the parents of kidnapped students, criticized the government's handling of the hostages. We have put our trust in the government and the school authorities to rescue the students in good time and safely, but that has not happened, he said. Gangs in northwest and central Nigeria, who are known locally as bandits, have recently turned their attention to mass kidnappings, seizing school students for ransom. Since December, at least 5 massive kidnappings have occurred in Africa's most populous nation. In other of Cameroon, Cameroon's Museum of War keeps ancient stories alive. Galfay, a town located about 50 kilometers from Kauseri in the northern region of Cameroon, is experiencing a new captivating look. Most tourists who arrive here are fascinated by the design of the small sultanate situated at the edge of the Lagon River and close to the N'Djamena, the Chadian capital. Galfay is a clay dwelling built centuries ago. It was converted to a museum and also acts as a cultural center where young people come to learn about the rich culture of the Kotokos. First and foremost, this museum serves as a history to the Kotoko Principality. So, this mass of earth is an element that was brought up for a long time by the old SAOs, Abba Kaka, communications officer to the Miam told African News. The history of Galfay began between the 16th and 18th centuries ago Arab invasion. The Arabs found people embedded in central traditions, locally known as the cult of the Varan. The Varan is considered as the divine symbol of the city and also a spiritual element of protection and divination. It plays an important religious and political role within this community. It is believed that the spirit known as Bwegwe collaborated with the people through the traditional priests to regularly offer household food like pots of honey and milk to the Varans housed in the tower. But the famous war emperor Rabba came from Egypt with the aim of converting locals here to Muslims and also taking slaves. He encountered fierce opposition in the town of Galfay, where unarmed people fought the Arabs. They forged their weapons from iron and built a tower. The weapons that were used in this battle are still present. When we saw movements and unknown people from above, we knew they were coming for war. And then they took the weapon here, went around to attack them from outside. Mahamat Abmbe Museum told the guide told Africa News. These strategies allow them to get hold of the enemies from behind to shoot them. Robert is considered the founder of Galfay. Jagara afterward led a victory over Rabat with the help of the French who later led his territory. The region was separated from Chad, Nigeria, and Niger and named the Sultanate of Galfay. The famous town located between Chad and Cameroon is famous from its practices and techniques of warfare in the religion. It is separated from Chad by the Lagon River. This story has been taught to the younger generations for centuries. Moving on here. We don't want war with Sudan. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said Tuesday this country did not want war with Sudan, as tensions over a contested region along their border spark fears of broader conflict. Ethiopia also has many problems, and we are not ready to go to battle. We don't need war. It is better Ethiopia to settle in a peaceful manner, Abiy told Parliament, remarks translated into English for a live TV broadcast. He stressed later that Ethiopia did not want war with their neighbor over their decades-old territorial dispute, describing Sudan as a brotherly country whose people loved Ethiopia. The border quarrel is over Al-Fashaka, an agricultural area sandwiched between two rivers, where Ethiopian North Amhara and Tigray regions meet Sudan's eastern Gedaref state. The fertile farmland is claimed by both countries and has been a flashpoint for conflict, most recently as violence in Ethiopia came closer. Khartoum sent troops into the Al-Fashaka region to recapture the stolen lands and take up positions on the international lines, Sudan state media reported. In December, Khartoum dispatched reinforcements to Al-Fashaka after Ethiopian forces and militants alleged ambushed Sudanese troops, killing at least 4 soldiers. A string of deadly clashes followed, with both sides facing accusations of violence and territorial violations. Sudan has in recent weeks claimed to have regained control of large swathes of the region, insisting it had always fallen with its boundaries. Meanwhile, Addis Ababa accused Khartoum of having invaded land that is part of Ethiopia's territory, warning it would resort to a military response if needed. The tit-for-tat exchanges stoked fears as a wider conflict erupted between the regional rivals. It comes amid tension over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, a mega dam on the Blue Nile, which downriver Khartoum and Cairo view as a threat to their water supply. In other stories, Ethiopia's leader Ahmed admits atrocities committed in Tigray. Monday, November 30th, 2020, Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed responds to questions from members of parliament at the Prime Minister's office. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has for the first time admitted that atrocities were committed during the military offensive in the northern Tigray region. Reports indicate that atrocities have been committed in Tigray region. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said in an address before the MPs in the capital, Addis Ababa. He said soldiers were found to have raped women or committed other war crimes would be held responsible. The Ethiopian leader also said in his first public acknowledgement that troops from neighboring Eritrea were present in the conflict and suggested that they may have been involved in abuses against civilians. Eritrean people and government did a lasting favor to our soldiers during the conflict, he said. However, after the Eritrean army crossed the border and was operating in Ethiopia, any damage it did to our people was unacceptable. Abiy's admission comes after months of denial from Ethiopia and Eritrea and days after the UN said it had agreed to Ethiopia's request for a joint investigation into allegations of human rights abuses in the Tigray. War is a nasty thing, Abiy said, speaking the local Amharic language. We know the destruction war has caused, but he also cited propaganda of exaggeration by the Tigray People's Liberation Front, the once-dominated party whose leader challenged Abiy's legitimacy after the postponement of elections last year. Abiy also said fighters told the TPLF had committed a massacre in the town of Maikadra, calling it the worst in the conflict, but said it did not get enough attention. Thousands have been killed and hundreds of thousands have been displaced after Ethiopia's government led a military campaign against the TPLF in November last year. Humanitarian officials have warned that a growing number of people might be starving to death in Tigray. On March 11th, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken described the violence in Ethiopia's Tigray region as ethnic cleansing, but authorities in Ethiopia rejected the accusations and called them propaganda statements. Here lies the end of the local story. Stay tuned as I fetch you the foreign news.
The News Hour, coming to you live from the studios of HitzAfrik Radio and TV.
You're still logged on to HitzAfrik Radio and TV. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at HitzAfrik Radio. Log on to www.modernghana.com. You can as well follow us on all our social media handles at HitzAfrik Radio. Now let's do some foreign stories. United States of America. The attack at a King Soopers in Buda ended when police took the lone suspect into custody after exchanging fire. Police have not confirmed a motive. The suspect faces 10 counts of murder. Boulder Police Chief Maurice Herold said the victims were between 20 and 65 years old at a news conference on Tuesday. Among the dead was 51-year-old Eric Talley, who was the police's first officer to respond to the shooting. The suspect has been named as 21-year-old Ahmad Alisa. The grocery store is located in the Bushy Shopping Plaza in Boulder, in north-central Colorado City, at about 50 miles, 30 kilometers away from the state capital of Denver. The supermarket attack comes less than a week after a mass shooting that left 8 dead, including 6 Asian women and 3 spas in Atlanta. Police identified the 10 victims of the shooting in the early hours of Tuesday. "I live 3 blocks up the street from that store," she said. "This is my community." She added that her colleague who lost her life in the attack, Mr. Talley, was a very kind man with 7 children ages 5 to 18. He cared about this community. He cared about the Boulder Police Department. He cared about his family, and he was willing to die to protect others, she said. Acting U.S. Attorney Michael Dougherty stressed that investigation was in its early stages, but Mr. Alisa was the only suspect involved. Investigators are still working to determine a motive. Mr. Alisa is being held at a local hospital and is expected to be transported to the county jail soon. The silent epidemic of Americans' problem with guns, how the pandemic led to the highest even spike in U.S. gun sales. Colorado Governor Jared Polis said the attack happened at the grocery store that could be any of our neighborhood grocery stores. The heroic action of this officer when he responded to the scene, phone calls of shots fired in the area, and a phone call about a possible person with a patrol rifle, she said. The names of the other victims will not be released until the relatives have been informed. Map shows site of shooting, short presentational transparent line. "Today, we saw the face of evil. I am grieving with my community and all Coloradans," retweeted Colorado Governor Jared Polis. Responding to the news, U.S. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer said on Twitter that Senate must and will move forward on legislation to help stop the epidemic of gun violence. President Joe Biden, who has been briefed about the latest attack, said last month he would be recommending tougher legislation and is staunchly defended by many conservatives, including ex-President Donald Trump. The state of Colorado has seen a number of mass shootings over the last few decades, including the 1999 Columbian High School attack that left 12 students and a teacher dead, and the 2012 attack at the cinema in Aurora that killed 12 people. Moving on to Germany. Germany has extended its lockdown for 3 weeks, imposing an almost complete halt over the Easter holiday in response to a third wave of coronavirus infections. After talks with regional leader Chancellor Angela Merkel said Germany was now in a very serious situation. Restrictions will be even tougher from 1st to 5th April, when most shops will be shut and gatherings will be limited. Meanwhile, France's president wants vaccinations morning, noon, and night. Emmanuel Macron was responding to an increase in intensive care cases and warnings of an explosion in hospital admissions. Charts showing the number of doses administered in the UK, US, EU, China, and Russia. 1px transparent line. "Essentially, we have a new virus," Chancellor Merkel said after marathon talks with the leaders of the Germany's 16 states. The highly contagious UK Kent variant of coronavirus had become dominant in Germany, she explained, plunging the country into a new pandemic. It is much deadlier, much more infectious, and infectious for much longer. Germany was in a race against time to roll out vaccinations against the coronavirus, she added. Tuesday's lockdown extension to 18th April marks a reversal from earlier this month when state leaders agreed to begin a cautious reopening process. For 5 days over Easter from 1st April, Germans are being asked to stay at home and reduce contact. In-person religious services are cancelled. Big family gatherings are banned, with no more than 2 households or up to 5 people allowed to meet. All shops are shut, apart from food shops on Saturday, 3rd April. The infection rate has risen above 100 to 100,000 inhabitants in Germany. A further 7,485 infections have been reported in the past 24 hours, as well as 250 deaths. An emergency brake will halt further reopenings in areas where infections exceed 100 new cases per 100,000 people over a 7-day period. Coronavirus infections have been surging in some parts of Europe in recent weeks as countries scramble to vaccinate their population despite delays in rolling out jabs. France's vaccination drive has been relatively slow to get off the ground, partly due to delayed supplies of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine and confusion surrounding the safety of the inoculation. However, the head of the French Hospital Federation, Frédéric Vallotton, warned on Tuesday that the number of new cases was exploding and hospitals were likely to be hit in the next 2 to 3 weeks by a wave of unprecedented violence. French hospitals admitted another 471 patients into intensive care in 24 hours, and another 15,792 cases were reported on Monday evening. President Macron, on a visit to the northern town of Basilensis, said that from Saturday, the vaccination campaign will be extended to people aged 70 to 75. We are fighting to get hold of doses that are no weekends or public holidays for vaccinations, he insisted. So far, the campaign has focused on over 75s and the most vulnerable, aged 50 to 74. From late April, teachers and other key workers in exposed positions would also be given the jab, he promised. France aims to have 10 million people vaccinated by mid-April and 30 million by mid-June. While cases in other European countries are rising, Denmark has announced a timetable for further reopening. We will proceed with caution. We can open up more new in Denmark, to contrast to several other countries where the third wave of corona is a reality, said Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen. Among measures agreed late on Monday by Danish leaders is proposed Corona Pass, which would say whether the holder has been vaccinated, previously infected, or has had a negative test in the past 72 hours. Children under 15 will be exempt. The aim of the passport, which will be available on mobile phones as well as on paper, will be to enable people to fulfill the requirement to go to the hairdresser, a restaurant, or eventually a cinema. The current plan is to reopen small shopping centers from 13th April and larger ones from 21st April. Along with outdoor eating at cafes and restaurants, cinemas and indoor dining will resume on 6th May. The Prime Minister said most restrictions will be lifted once all over 50s and half had been vaccinated, which she expects to happen in May. COVID, the countries that nailed it. The rollout of vaccinations across the EU is far beyond the scale of vaccinations achieved by Israel and the UK and USA. Oxford v. Moderna 3 COVID-19 vaccine compared. The AstraZeneca vaccine is now at the center of political tensions between the UK and EU over the firm's contractual obligations. The EU is now considering an export ban targeting AstraZeneca production in Europe. EU officials complain that too much of the vaccine is going to the UK and other countries rather than staying in the EU. Moving on to another country, Chicago. United States city of Evanston to pay reparations to black residents. The city council in Evanston, Illinois, voted 8-1 to distribute $25,000, £18,000 each to 16 eligible black households to use for home repairs or as down payment on property. The fund came mostly from a new tax on legalized marijuana. Black Americans were disadvantaged by racist housing decision. To be eligible, residents must be a black person who lived in Evanston between 1919 to 1969 or a descendant of such a person. The family must also have been a victim of discrimination in housing because of policies or processes in the city that time. U.S. hate crime highest in more than a decade, FBI. Minneapolis to pay George Floyd family $27 million. Evanston has pledged to distribute $10 million over a decade. Around 60% of the city's residents are black. White residents in Evanston out-earn black residents by $46,000 a year. We are very excited to see the first national direct benefit from some of the harms we've had to experience from the past. Cam Howard, co-chair of the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America, told CBS News. In other stories of Russia, the foreign ministers of Russia and China, Sergei Lavrov, and Wang Gang. Russia and China have jointly condemned Western sanctions a day after the EU, UK, and US and Canada blacklisted some senior Chinese officials for rights abuses against ethnic Uyghurs. The joint attack came during a visit by Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to Guilin in southern China. He said EU unilateral decisions had destroyed ties with Russia. His Chinese counterpart, Wang Yi, said the era of interfering in China's internal affairs had gone forever. It is the first time the EU has imposed new sanctions on China over human rights abuses since the 1989 Tiananmen Square crackdown. Workers work by what is officially known as Vocational Skills Education Center in Dibanshan. Germany risks U.S. sanctions over the nearly completed pipeline as the U.S. government sees it as a Russian tool to further divide Europe. The pipeline bypasses Ukraine and Poland, who also strongly opposed it. Here lies the end of the foreign story. Stay tuned as I fetch you the entertainment news. You're logged on to HitzAfrik Radio right here in the studios. We are transmitting in Ghana. www.modernghana.com on the TuneIn app at HitzAfrik Radio. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at HitzAfrik Radio. Now let's do some entertainment news. I am on the same level with Sarkodie. I don't need him for attention. A tweet came with a link to the video. Belamundi asked the rapper if he intentionally did so for a PR gimmick, and he said, I have never been on jumping on people for PR. It has never been my thing. That's why you don't see me do songs with supposed hot person. According to the rapper, whose You Dey Craze song gave a Sarkodie mileage and gained wider attention in Ghana because of his rap verse on the track as a featured artist, he believes he doesn't need Sarkodie for any attention bait. I am an list artist, and I am on the level with Sarkodie as an industry colleague. There is nothing he can do creatively that I cannot do. There is no room he can walk into that I cannot walk into. So I don't need any level of PR, Adam said on TV3. Moving on to other stories, why German Ghanaian rapper Sirius Glenn should be your new favorite rapper. Born Kelvin Boache, Sirius Glenn is a globally recognized rap powerhouse of Ghanaian origin with a very impressive catalog that spans high-ticket projects with names like Anderson .Paak, Denzel Curry, and many more. Among other impressive feats, the fast-to-fame mega rap star in famous co-headline blockbuster events around the world, notably Dubai's hottest concert, So DXB alongside Pusha T, and the Global Citizen concert in Berlin alongside Mafikizolo. Sirius Klein had already earned co-signs from some top names in the global music arena, very recently touted by Alicia Keys as one of the hottest outcomers in Germany. His impressive co-site list also includes notable music curators, Callas, who have hosted his performances twice with renowned publications FADER, High Nobacy, Complex, Outlander Magazine, JQ Magazine, and many more, also reinforcing Klein's credence and why the world should really look out for his satisfied superstar. In other stories, how Sister Efia fooled Ghanaians with a beef with Eno Baroni and Frida Rhymes. Ghanaian Afropop and highlife singer Sister Efia has dropped a bombshell about her beef with female rappers Eno Baroni and Frida Rhymes. Frida Rhymes drops new diss track to Eno Baroni as Sister Efia. In 2020, while the world was fighting the pandemic, which rocked every sector, the three ignited and rapped female fraternity with a historic beef last week. It all started when Sister Efia, an Afropop high and high-life singer, decided to deviate into rap music and initiated a grabby beef among the female musicians in Ghana. In April 2020, she released a diss song titled Women Must Talk, WTM, where she made such disparaging interferences about her fellow female musicians and claimed to be the queen of high life and Queen Solomon, referring to her latest album. The response from Eno and Rhymes caused the beef to escalate into a different level, even in a near physical fight. But Sister Efia says the beef was planned, which was heavily covered by the media, and that it was all her idea. She revealed this during an interview on Fela Makafui's YouTube show, The Fela's Show. She said she called Eno Baroni and Frida Rhymes and sold the idea to them. According to her, she did this to help revive the rap game among the women in the music industry. She, however, noted that Eno Baroni and Frida Rhymes have been ungrateful to her after helping them gain some relevance in the entertainment space. Here lies the end of the news for tonight. Stay tuned as I bring you the recap of the headlines. Man allegedly murders girlfriend and attempts suicide. Dreadlocks Bruhaha Rastafari Council must engage stakeholders. Anemia in pregnant women high in Clone Katamanso. Dozens of Nigerians file pressure demanding release of kidnapped students. We don't want war with Sudan. This and many other stories I brought to your way. My Abna Aminia. Stay tuned for the sports highlights. You're still logged on to HitzAfrik Radio. Have a good evening.